Hare Thank you for coming, man.
Harsha.
Harsha. Yes. Let's welcome Harsha to the temple. Harsha used to come to the temple 10 years before when he used to live in Atlanta.
Correct.
And today I spoke to him for a brief moment, and I'm so happy to see his smiling face here again. Anyone else? Yes. Sesha. Sesha means something that has an ending, is that what it means? Or no ending? No ending. So Sesha, let's welcome Sesha to the temple. Is there anyone else? Yes. Gayatri? Let's welcome Gayatri to the temple. Anyone else? Is she being shy?
Yeah.
It's okay. We don't bite, we're vegetarians. Is anyone else here for the very first time?
Varalakshmi, my mom.
Varalakshmi. Let's welcome Varalakshmi to the temple. Is there anyone else for the very first time? Anyone here for the second time? Thank you so much for coming. We'll spend a few minutes before we have prasadam, which is the main part of the event, is where we all get together and eat prasadam and honor prasadam. So we're going to spend a few minutes discussing some principles of bhakti. Does anyone know what bhakti means? Please raise your hand if you know what bhakti means. Raise your hand if you know what it means. Please tell me.
Devotion.
Devotion. Very nice. Anyone else would like to share? Yes.
Devotion.
Devotion. Very nice. Anyone else? Yes.
Service to the God.
Service to the God. Very nice. Anyone else?
Rishikena Rishikeso Shivanam Bhakti.
Which means? For us, layman people, can you please translate what that means?
Rishikena means with the Indriya, and Rishikesa means Krishna. With all your Indriya to serve Krishna. That's called Bhakti.
Thank you, Arjun. Anyone else would like to add anything to this? Chanting the name of God. Very nice. Very nice.
Loving devotion.
Loving devotion. Very nice. Thank you so much. So let's give yourselves a big round of applause because you guys did a great job. So, we are discussing an important principle of bhakti, which literally means love. And that love is expressed through service. So it becomes devotional service. So, a lot of the times we want to know why we should do service and to who we should do service. Some of you said you should do service to God. And some of you just said devotional service, some of you said devotion. So there is, all of you are correct. Everyone is correct. What is missing in that essential component is that if we try to worship God, we need to understand what is it that he or she is expecting or wanting of us. If you just say serve God, it's a little abstract, a little impersonal. So we need to understand what that really means. Because, as you know, Prahlad Maharaj was seeing God in the pillar. Can you see God in the pillar? Yes? No? Yes?
Yes.
He can see God in the pillar. Can everyone see God in the pillar?
Yes.
So this is a very important principle to understand. What we actually see. And so this boils down to a beautiful verse that is there in the Mahabharata. And it's quoted in the Adi Purana, beautiful verse. I wanted to just read the verse to you and then we'll discuss. It says, Name Bhakta Jana Partha, beautiful verse, Name Bhaktas Te Janaha, Mat Bhaktanam Chaye Bhakta, Teme Bhakta Tamo Mataha. Those who come from India, those who know about Krishna, those who are devotees in ISKCON, anyone who's serving God, we are very happy and very quickly recognize or acknowledge ourselves as devotees of Krishna. Yes? Do we recognize ourselves as devotees of Krishna? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So we recognize ourselves as devotees of Krishna. But here, Krishna is saying, that actually those who acknowledge themselves as direct devotees of Krishna, na me bhakta, they are not my devotees. So if we identify with someone and that person does not identify with you, that feels a little, something is wrong, right? Yes? But very interestingly, he also says that, but those devotees who claim to be servants of other devotees, they're actually my real devotees. So very important to keep in mind the relationship is that if we serve the devotees who are serving Krishna, then we can actually be acknowledged by Krishna as devotees. You can acknowledge yourself as whatever you want. But ultimately that service, that purity, that consciousness, that intent behind an action is really the key. And this boils down to very important sets of very simple principles that practical principles that Sri Rupa Goswami, he points out. What is this exchange? I cannot see Krishna, but there's something else that is more important than Krishna. And that is those that serve Krishna. So when we say Krishna, it's also very difficult to understand for some. For some, Krishna is just in the temple. You cannot find Krishna anywhere. You have to go to a temple. You'll drive 45 miles from Alpharetta all the way to Riverdale or to the Hare Krishna Mandir to see Krishna, which is very nice gesture. But when the consciousness evolves, then we start to see Krishna or God everywhere. In every animate and inanimate objects, we will see Krishna. But that is a nice theory. But then, how are the exchanges? Because Krishna is saying that he does not acknowledge you to be his devotee if you claim to be his devotee. So then, there is another layer, and that is your relationship with the world, with other living entities, with other devotees. And this is what differentiates between someone who has an evolved consciousness versus someone whose consciousness is still yet to be evolved. So Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Instruction, there is a book called Upadeshamrita. Beautiful nectar drops, just giving us a little dose of what is this exchange that happens. This verse says, Dadati pratigrihnati guhyam akhyati pritchati bhukte bhojayatesh shadvidham pratilakshanam. So Rupa Goswami, who claims to be the servant of the devotees, and he compiled beautiful texts in cultivating this mood that is very important in order to make spiritual advancement. And he explains that dadati pratigrihnati, that dadati means offering gifts in charity. What would that mean? What does gift means?
Dhanam.
Huh?
Dhanam.
Dhanam, yeah. What is that dhanam? What do you give?
Something that's dear to you. Something that's dear to you.
Very nice. Very nice. If I may ask you, what is the most dearest thing to you?
Kids.
Kids. But that is, you're objectifying something that is dear to you. Something more dear to you than your kids.
The wealth, the money.
Money and wealth more dear to you than your kids. Sometimes it is possible, yes. But there's something deeper than that.
Knowledge.
Knowledge is also very, very deep.
Love. Love.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Michael, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is your love for your children. And how is that expressed? It is expressed through service. There is an action. So, dadati pratigrinati means something that comes from the heart. So there is someone that lives within the heart, your ever well-wisher and friend. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya chaham hridishan vidishto mattasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. He said, I am situated in your heart and I am your best friend because I never leave you. When you want to go and get drunk, for example, some of your friends will say, no, I don't want to go. Some friends will say, I will go. But there is one person that always follows you everywhere you go. And is very dear to you, you just don't realize it. And that is Krishna, Paramatma, situated in the innermost core of your heart. He has never deserted you. He values you, but yet we don't value him. So the Vedas are explaining, dadati pratigrinati means giving knowledge of this person. Because when you give knowledge, jnana dipena bhashvata. You can feed someone, you can clothe someone, you can do so many external things. But if you provide them this spiritual knowledge, this is the highest gift, because that person can then save himself. One Acharya explains that good association of bhaktas, of devotees, is actually the key. If you want to know how to get out of this samsara, this wheel that's going on in full speed, birth, old age, disease and death, we're going through 8,400,000 species of life, yet we are not able to get out of this cycle. And the key is association. And how to associate is what we're learning. That we have to associate it, dadati pratigrinati. We have to give them in charity. What is the most valuable thing is what you should give. Normally what happens, when someone comes, beggar comes, we find the smallest bill we have, smallest change we have, and we give to them. I will give you an example. Every Saturday we go out and we feed the homeless people Krishna Prasadam. We offer to Krishna and we serve them Prasadam so that they can connect with Krishna. And initially when we used to go and do that, these homeless people would not come to eat from us. Even though we worked so hard, made fresh food, they would not come to eat. And I was thinking, this is very odd. They are hungry, they are homeless, we are trying to feed them, still they will not come to eat. Then one day I was very hungry as I was serving food, trying to serve food. So I ate one of the sandwiches that we made and offered to Krishna. When I started eating, so many homeless people saw, then thought, okay, then this food must be bona fide food. And I was thinking, why didn't you guys come to eat before? He said, because everyone that comes to feed us, they will bring the food that is going bad in their restaurants, that if they sell to someone else, they might get sued or something. That food, they come and they serve it to us. So the fact that you are ready to eat what you're serving made me feel comfortable that you're providing good food. So this is a very interesting thing. Humans by nature wants to give something that is the cheapest, the least valuable to that person in charity. In spiritual exchanges, what we can give someone is really your love. It's the biggest charity you can give. The knowledge This is the biggest charity you can give. And pratigrinati, you must also accept in charity. In order to be a recipient of receiving a charity, it's not very easy. It's actually harder to be a recipient of charity than to be a giver of charity. I'll explain to you why. When we go out to give someone something, why would that person accept anything from you? What position is that person putting himself or herself into to be begging? What mental state would that person have to be in to accept alms, to feel vulnerable to you? To give, you don't require vulnerability. No one wants to be vulnerable. If anything happens, I'm the strongest. This is the human mind. But to accept in charity is very hard.
You have to kill your ego.
You have to kill your ego. So imagine when we're going out to give to these homeless people, serve prasadam to them, we are acknowledging the fact that these people are actually giving us an opportunity to give them Krishna in the form of prasadam. Because they have taken the humble position of accepting our service. So this is the first two principles, to give in charity and to accept in charity. Then the second is guhyam akhyati pritchati. Guhyam akhyati, confidentially inquiring and hearing. Akhyati, to listen. People in this world today, we are short of time because the clock is ticking very fast. And the technological advancement takes more time out of our day. To the point where we are completely becoming subservient to technology. It is a tool that is meant to be used, utilized for optimization, for betterment of human existence, but in all reality, it is taking your very life away at a very fast pace. So this guhyam akhyati pritchati, this personal interaction, is almost eliminated through technology. The wife is in the kitchen cooking, the husband is in the office doing some work. The wife texts the husband, "What would you like to have for lunch?" And the wife will then text, husband will text back, "Can I have some idli and sambar today?" Living in the same house, the communication has become so advanced that we don't make this contact. The first thing we do when we wake up, we don't go to check our son if he's awake, if he's breathing, if my wife or my husband, my children sitting next to me, if they're awake, what is their condition. First thing we'll go pick up our telephone and we'll look at our Facebook page to see how many people have commented on my picture that I posted last night before I went to bed. So this addiction is a serious problem. And so we have very little time. But what these acharyas are saying is that guhyam akhyati pritchati, you actually meet the person face to face and you inquire about their well-being. If you genuinely care about someone, you inquire about their well-being. In America, we have a very common practice. We see someone, we say, "Hey, how are you?" And then we keep walking. When I first came into this country, I was learning the American way 15 years ago. And I didn't understand. He asked me how I was, but he didn't stop to listen to my answer. He just kept walking. maybe he's very busy. And then I realize the next person that sees me, hey, how are you? And by the time I finish answering, you walk past. So then I realized this country is very fast paced. You have to speed up a little bit. And the faster it goes, the less time we have for this human interaction. You ask yourself, when was the last time you actually sat with your husband or with your wife or with your children and actually inquired about their well-being? If you ask yourself, you'd be surprised with the answer that you get. You'd be very surprised. Husband and wife can live in the same house for 20 years, 30 years. They will actually not take this time. Initially, yes. When in the beginning of the relationship you just can't live without her, 24-hour texting, trying to figure out a way to meet her, spend time with her. As soon as marriage happens, and then communication minimizes to the point where we're just texting each other. So, guhya makhyati prichati, to really get to find out what is inside of this person, what is he feeling, and then goes deeper into it to really understand where are we going spiritually. Because just to care about someone physically, it's not genuine care. You're just caring about this person's body and mind. But there is something else beyond this body and mind. There is a soul inside. And that soul needs happiness. And how is that soul? How does he feel? Is he happy? Is he sad? So this is the real inquiry. And then it's guhyam, it's confidentiality. Now, confidentiality sometimes is very difficult. Because confidentiality requires trust. If yourself, you do not have a high level of honesty and integrity within yourself, about yourself, then why should I reveal what's in my heart to so-and-so? Because if I tell him that, yesterday I went out with the friends clubbing at night, then he will judge me. He will put me down. He will put me in a category. And he will tell my friends. So we, internally, because we have our own conditioning, we judge the other person and we don't reveal ourselves. Because we think that this person is going to tell the world. And more we accumulate this constant flow of information that is being injected into you, whether you like it or not. You're going to start developing issues. And this is why technology is actually giving you so much information that your mind cannot comprehend, your heart cannot process, this intelligence cannot process this information. Then you start having anxiety, depression, and then you start popping pills. So this is what happens. So this important principle of guhya makhyati prichati is very, very crucial for material advancement as well as spiritual advancement. That we have to become honest with ourselves, with our mind, with our senses, and as a soul, servant of Krishna, we have to really acknowledge what that really means. So this is the two principles. The first two was giving in charity and accepting in charity. Yes? Are you with me? Did I lose you? And the second two was? Revealing one's mind and inquiring. And nowadays, this thing doesn't happen. If you look at the Hare Krishna movement, You look at any institution, if you take out the element of these are called Priti Lakshana, exchange of love. We say we love you, but what is the exchange? It's not just mere words. In India, those who grow up in India, I can assure you that your parents have never told you that they loved you. Has your parents ever told you they loved you?
No.
You're like what, 40 years old now?
42.
42 years old. In the last 42 years, his parents have never once told him they loved him. But he will tell you that he feels love of his parents every single day of his life. Unconditionally. So this expression of love is not just words. This actually comes from within the heart. It has to be genuine. And so inquiring submissively and revealing one's mind. And then the fifth and the sixth is bhunkte bhojayate. Means you should eat and you should feed others. You're thinking, how is this possible? This food, If you analyze what happens in your life, I want to give you some practical examples. We are so obsessed with the pace of society and technology that we actually don't sit down and eat. We don't actually do that. When was the last time you actually sat down and ate food without any distraction? No TV, no newspaper, no video games, no Facebook. I know, for example, sometimes I visit homes. They're watching TV, they're on the phone, they're with their children, and eating at the same time. I'm thinking, updating, before they eat, they have to take a picture of the food and post it on Facebook to make sure that the world sees what they're eating and sees how many people will actually comment about that food. We don't eat. So I want to explain to you what the Vedas are saying. This prasadam that we eat is actually not different from Krishna. So Krishna is sitting right in front of you in a beautiful plate. And we still cannot give him our attention. He is the one that will build relationships. He is the instrument that will connect two hearts together. He is the one that will solve all your problems. Yet, when we eat, even for 10 minutes, we cannot give him our undivided attention. So, every Fridays we have a program at Georgia Tech University. Every different universities we have programs with the students. So one European student who is here, an exchange student, is doing his PhD in physics. And he was sharing, because in our group discussions we share. And I said, so what was the biggest difference that you found in the culture of the United States and the culture where you grew up? He said, Veda, in Spain, where I grew up, when it's dinner time, everybody in the family, we sit on the table, we all gather together, and we all just have a great time catching up and eating, and talking about family, what people are doing in the family, who's doing what, and just catching up. And we just really relish everything we eat. We talk about the food and health and family. And in America, I go out to eat, everyone is on their phone while they're eating, and the families never have dinner together. So I thought, very interesting observation. So here, Srila Prabhupada actually explains, when we eat prasadam, we don't eat, we honor prasadam, because it is Krishna. Imagine, he's nourishing your body every single day sometimes 3 times, sometimes 5 times, sometimes 10 times. Your body is being nourished by Krishna in the form of prasadam. Whether you like it or not, He keeps nourishing your body. And we do not even give Him undivided attention for 5 to 10 minutes. You'll also see, as soon as the program is over, we immediately start our discussions. We don't wait for the Krishna to close the curtain. We're here to take His mercy. Yet we will immediately get into this big discussion about whatever it is that is on our mind. This is the situation that we are in, and we should acknowledge it. Bhunkte bhojayate. If you see exchange of eating, what happens in eating? I give you an example from the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, the last commander-in-chief of the Kaurava army. Who knows? Anyone knows? Okay, let's do quick recap. 10 minutes. So Mahabharata was fought for how many days? 18 days. Who was the first commander-in-chief? How many days? 10 days. Good job. 10 days out of the way. 8 more days to go. Who was the second commander-in-chief? Dronacharya. Keep this in mind. How many days? 5 days. You're very close, very close. Dronacharya was commander-in-chief for 5 days. After him came Karna. For how many days? 2 days. So how many days out? 17 days out. So 1 more day left. Who was the last one? Shalya. So Shalya was the commander-in-chief of the Kaurava army for almost half a day before he was killed. And then Ashwatthama took over the other half. So now, in the Mahabharata, you will see when they're recruiting all the soldiers, Duryodhana and the Pandavas, they had scattered all over the world recruiting alliances to fight for them. Shalya is the uncle of Yudhishthir Maharaj. How is he the uncle? Because he was the brother of Madri. You know Madri? Kunti's step sister. So he was coming to Hastinapur to align with Yudhishthir Maharaj to fight. You may think, why are they coming to fight? Because in those ages, if you died in the battlefield, it guaranteed heavenly planets. Guaranteed. In Kali Yuga, there is no guarantee for anything. The only guarantee in Kali Yuga, 100% guarantee, is death, old age. So in Swarga, during that time, Yadri Chaya Chopapannam Swarga Dwaram Apavritam. All Kshatriyas, you fought in the battle, you died, you go to the heavens. You become the conqueror, then you enjoy the kingdom on earthly planet. So Shalya was coming, and Duryodhana was super genius. So he set up a beautiful, massive tent. And he had hundreds and hundreds of servants, all ready, beautiful beds made, beautiful dishes cooked. Everything set up on the route that Shalya was coming from his kingdom to Hastinapur. He didn't have time to go visit him, but they knew that all the warriors are going to come to Hastinapur to make some alliances. When he was coming, then this beautiful entourage greeted him on the way. They took such nice care of him. Beautiful beds, beautiful eating arrangements, big feast, big party, everything was so nicely arranged. So nicely arranged that it really touched the heart of Shalya. Just from feeding. Big feast. And Shalya was so pleased, he asked one of the head servants, he says, I want to meet the host. And Duryodhana had a well-planned strategy, so he just immediately came out because he already knew, this is my plan. And he was the best spear fighter in the history of Mahabharata. Yudhishthira Maharaj was considered the best. Better than him was Shalya. So, such an important asset in a battle. So Duryodhana just immediately showed up. Yes, oh great warrior. Because he wanted to fulfill whatever desire you have, I would like to fulfill your wishes. Why? Because you fed me. I'm feeling so satisfied. Duryodhana said, can you please fight on my side, on the Kaurava side, against his own nephew, imagine. And he gave his life for him. So this food goes deep into the heart, it doesn't go into the gut. As you may think, it just goes in and out. No, something else happens. If you look at society today, it's very financially, economically driven. If you analyze, everything is about money. Children, money is taking precedence over children, family. Everything. Why? Because the food that you eat has a certain element of consciousness. If you eat the food, for example, at fast food chains, analyze the consciousness that is there. The person that is working there, he doesn't want to work there because he's getting paid minimum wage. He just wishes that these hours could be over so I can go home and do something else. He doesn't want to be there. The food that we eat is a product of violence. How is it nurtured? The whole industry, the food industry, there is no pure consciousness involved. There's a tremendous amount of violence. So we consume violence. And the person that is feeding you this is thinking about how to make money off of you. His only intention is how to make money from you. So every day you're eating, how can I make money, how can I make money, how can I make money? Everything that you find in the market has that consciousness. So in the family, what consciousness will dominate? How can I make more money? Contrary, if you look at your mother's cooking, all of you will 100% agree that your mother's cooking is the best. Yes? And why would you say your mother's cooking is the best? Because the very intent that the mother puts, the consciousness that the mother puts in the food, you are a product of your mother's consciousness. Your mother has nothing but well-wishing, beautiful, optimistic, great thoughts. Let my son be strong, let my son be righteous, let my son be religious, let my son be giving, let my son be loving. All these qualities is what is in the mother's mind. So when the children grow up, this is what is there within them. And then as soon as we go to college, then it's difficult. So this is what nourishes. So this food, bhunkte bhojayate shaiva, when we feed someone, it should come from the heart, just like a mother's cooking. Not, let's go out to restaurants and let's go eat. That is not bhunkte bhojayate shaiva. That is not how you do this loving exchange of honoring prasadam and distributing prasadams to someone else. So these are the 6 loving exchanges. And Prabhupada makes a very, very, very profound statement. When I was reading this verse, he says, Prabhupada says in the purport, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate the 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. Imagine, this ISKCON movement was established just for these 6 principles. This is how important that these principles are. That he is making such a profound, bold statement in the 4th verse of the Nectar of Instruction. And then he further goes on to make another statement which I thought was very deep. He says, the life of the Krishna conscious society, imagine the life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by the 6 types of loving exchange amongst the members. This is what Prabhupada wanted. That we have to really be about loving exchanges between each other. And this is how we can actually truly, these are called Priti Lakshana, exchanges of love. This is how we can truly feel love and be loved. So, I know time is up, but there are so many beautiful points that is there in the Puranas, really talking about this importance of loving exchanges. And so many examples that Lord Ram personally shows, Krishna personally shows. And contrary to this, I'll end it with this last thought. If we operate on the principle of spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness, where Krishna's senses, Rishikena Rishikesha, when Krishna's senses is the primary focus, then all of these loving exchanges will even be magnified to its true spiritual form that is existent in the spiritual world. And what divides us is this false ego that we carry within our heart. Because everything that is taken in and spitted out is filtered through our senses. What you see with your eyes is not what it really is. What you hear with your ears is not what it really is. With the sense of touch, these are all the information that is constantly being taken in is filtered through your senses. And your senses are imperfect according to the Vedas. So if we really want loving relationships, which is what each and every one of us really want, whether we accept it or not, we want to be loved and we want to love others. The key component that is missing, or that has to be added into this, is that Krishna. Krishna's senses. And therefore, Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that service, bhaktyamam abhijanati, that you will understand me through service. And you can only understand Krishna through bhakti. And bhakti means love. If you don't learn to love His creation, you will never love Krishna. If you're envious of everything in this world, you'll never be able to love Krishna. So we have to learn to love everyone and everything in this world and see His connection to Krishna. And then we will be able to really experience what is true devotional service. So thank you so much. I know I went a few minutes over time. Would anyone like to add anything to this discussion? Any questions on this? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, since Prabhupada established in Krishna consciousness, they have a big difference from beginning and now. Now I can see in the big difference that before was no discrimination, now has come in some discrimination, maybe not, but I can like a loving affection when Prabhupada present every time, every moment, but still now I can see those are representative like they can see in different vision way, but like you can see by like a Facebook comment or practical comment is big difference. Means like a what relationship you and me or everybody is like a all different affection. Why is that?
I'm not sure I fully understood your question. You're saying,
As a president, as a superior person, he loves everybody like equal, like a mom loves everybody, her son, her relative. But when you have go superior person, that they love like a mother or father, like a love everybody equal, that make our loving affection is growing and make a deeper and deeper. But I think it's little gap is going on or something. I think I'm not so qualified that I not get that kind of love.
I still am not 100% sure, but I'll try to explain what I understood that your question is. So, in spiritual institutions, it is called a spiritual institution when a person's consciousness or the member's consciousness is spiritual. It is not by bodily designations, it is not designations by a managerial status, position. That doesn't make it a religious, it doesn't make it a spiritual institution. Spiritual institution does not have a social hierarchy. It has a spiritual, natural hierarchy is there. That hierarchy comes, say for example, someone who's Prabhupada, give an example of Prabhupada. He was operating on a very high level of consciousness where every living being, all his servants, everyone was equal to him. He treated everyone equally. Everyone felt loved by him. Everyone felt loved by him. How is that possible? Because he is a spiritual leader. If there is a vacancy in feeling that spiritual love, if there is a vacancy, that means, from the top, it means that somewhere the equal vision is not there. Pandita Shamadarshina. That someone who is on that spiritual level, there is Samadarshi. It's possible that when Prabhupada left, that some of us had not reached that level, but we are all on the path, on the same journey, we're all on the same boat. So what happens sometimes when we're on the same boat, if our purpose is the same, then we'll make it through. If there's any other motive other than to make spiritual advancement in a spiritual institution, you'll be very frustrated. So, like for example, you can do this with any institution. If your objective is to make spiritual advancement, and everyone in that institution is there for spiritual advancement, even if you have difficulties, because the principles of Priti Lakshana, the 6 loving exchanges are there, you'll be lifted up. Someone is going to be there to care for you. Someone will be there to nurture you, to build you up, to lift you up. And this is why spiritual institutions, normally, you will never see such hierarchy. Material institutions, you must respect your CEO, CFO, all this respect is there at the board of directors. But in spiritual institution, it is not done through legislation, it is done through inspiration. Spiritual institutions that are run through legislation, normally, they run into some problems. But spiritual institutions that run on inspiration will flourish and grow. Look at Prabhupada, in such a short time, he inspired millions of people all around the world. So yes, that element of spiritual advancement is required by each and every member to take a personal initiative to go through these loving exchanges and grow our bhakti towards Krishna. Rangesh, you wanted to add something?
You were talking about, this is more like a comment. So
Yes,
this
please.
is, you're talking about bhojana, which is food, and also caring about devotees. I think one aspect of the Vedic scripture which people will be interested to know about is that three things were never sold in Vedic civilization. One is food, education, and medicine. And all three are the biggest businesses today. And we need to understand that when we distribute this to each other in a caring and loving manner, as you were mentioning, that, and I think that fits in there in the sense that because it is meant as a caring and loving service and also essential to all human beings, it was never sold as such.
Did everyone hear that? It's very beautiful. Thank you so much, Rangesh. Any more comments? Yes.
So you told about technology creating so much problems for us. How can you use technology to increase Krishna consciousness?
Yes, why not?
How would we do that?
We're using this microphone.
Okay.
If it wasn't for this microphone, I think I'd have to shout on top of my lungs for you to hear me.
Technology led me here today.
Yes,
God led
technology.
me all the way here, told me every turn to make on my bicycle.
Yes, you see? Technology brought us all together.
Yeah.
And one thing I just want to add, just for you to think about, take away. Every exchange that you have with someone, with anyone that you have, what you're actually exchanging is not words. You're exchanging emotions and you're exchanging consciousness. So just please keep this in mind, that when you say something to someone, it's not just words. There is an emotion that follows those words, and that emotion has a certain level of consciousness. So if you want to affect someone's consciousness positively, say something nice. First, not comment. You should always positive reinforcement, and then you can really be Krishna conscious. Because this is good consciousness means when you meet together, you talk about Krishna, not money, not business. You talk about Krishna. Then it becomes Krishna consciousness. So you actually should transmit Krishna consciousness. Arjun Prabhu, last, because we are late.
What country he was coming from? Shollo.
He was coming from Magadha. Magadha Raj. That is where he was the king, I think. I don't remember exactly. I can look it up for you. It's been many years.
Sharia, right?
Shalya.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this few days ago on New Year's Day, a lot of the devotees, they went out to share spiritual knowledge, Vidya Danam. And I just wanted to acknowledge those devotees. Vrajeshwari Mataji, Sachipran Prabhu, Naveen Prabhu, Punam Mataji, Ramya Mataji and Haridas, Chandani Mataji, Garima, Gaur Keshav Prabhu, and Dilip Prabhu and family, Urjeshwari Prabhu, Urjeshwari Mataji and family, and they went out and they gave out spiritual knowledge to so many people. So they gave out 28 small books, 5 medium books. Bhagavad Gita, they gave out 35, soft-bound, and hard-bound they gave out 15, and Telugu Bhagavad Gita they gave out 8, and Krishna books they gave out 12, And children's books, they give out 4 cases. Science of Self-Realization 1, Dhruva Maharaj Story 1, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya 1, Pilgrimage to India 3. And total donations they collected was $868. So we're going to request Gauranga Banik and family to please come and perform the Arati. They're the sponsors for the Sunday feast. And they wanted the prayers of all the devotees. So can we pray for them?
Yes, Haribol.
So if you could all please raise your hands, we're going to pray for their father. Together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Please come and have the last darshan, and prasadam will be served in the temple room.